As the famed musician Prince once said, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life." And what a strange and wonderful life it is. Scary at times, full of joy at others. It twists round and round, weaving in and out, much like the threads on a loom or ribbons around a maypole. I had brought up the idea of doing a maypole a few months ago, and I'm sad that we can't do this tradition together. But this has allowed me time to think very deeply about dance. To talk about the maypole, we must first examine dance, and more to the point, ecstatic dance. When Europeans first started talking about the natives of the various lands they visited and unfortunately often conquered, they described people who would hold rituals and gather where they could sing and dance until they would enter an ecstatic trance state. Their minds would lose sight of this world and often have visions of something greater. Whether these visions were of gods or just of a vision of how the community should be, I'm not sure. Once the visions passed, often the dancers would fall to the ground in exhaustion. These rituals didn't just happen abroad either. In the early 19th century, Frederick Oldstone witnessed a Black Christian church service in New Orleans. He later said that he was swept up by the shouting, the groans, the expression of ecstasy, that he soon felt his face burn red and his feet begin to stomp to music. In 1963, anthropologist Erica Brueggemann, and I'm horribly butchering her name, stated in one of her studies that 92% of small-scale societies surveyed encouraged and engaged in some form of religious dance or trance, in most cases through ecstatic dance, reaching a culmination in exhaustion. Another anthropologist, Victor Turner, in the 1960s, theorized that ecstatic ritual and dance were necessary for the building of community bonds, that it was the collective thrill and excitement that melted the idea of being separate individuals into being one whole group. Although he stressed that such rituals and dances should only be held occasionally and extremely limited. This might be why he lashed out at the hippies of his time, in his words, that used rock music and drugs and flashing lights to establish total communion with one another. And this brings us back to our maypole. While the maypole in today's society has been seen as something completely innocent, it has held long stretches in history as a symbol of rebellion, of socialism, of communism, and in the 19th and 20th century as being part of our labor movement. In the 16th and 17th centuries, maypoles were seen as downright sinisters, tools of Satan himself. Although much of history of the maypole were accompanied by bonfires and revelry and, let's face it, tons and tons and tons of alcohol. Often dancers would be masked as they went around holding tight onto ribbons. Dancers would find themselves in a trance and ecstatic state of mind. One 12th century priest described the maypole dances in his Welsh hometown as extremely vulgar and suspected them to be the works of Satan. And he wrote, "You can see the young men and maidens dance. They sing, and those who till now had followed the leader peacefully, as if in a trance, leap into the air and are filled with seizures of frenzy." Many towns and churches sought to ban the maypole because of the frenzy, manias, and festivities the pole brought with them. The clergy of Germany had good reason to fear such dances. In an outbreak of the Black Death, a mania of dancing broke out and spilled from Germany into Belgium. Peasants left their plows, mechanics left their workshops, housewives left their domestic duty to join the wild revels. They formed circles hand in hand and appeared to have lost all control of their senses. They continued to dance regardless of the situation for hours until in wild delirium they fell to the ground, sometimes even dead. The dances were a mania, were contagious, and they could be caught by visual contact. Bystanders would watch and then become overwhelmed by the music and get swept up into the dance. While we are not experiencing the Black Death, we are also under a great deal of strain from disease that claims lives in large numbers. This is a stress that we deal with in different ways. I'm not saying that we need a dance mania, but maybe we do need to step out of ourselves and find contact with the ecstatic, because there is a part of our psyche that needs this and craves it, and more so when society is being pushed by great stressors. I don't know if you've ever experienced the joy of a dance that makes you forget time and allows only for the joy of your body and moving. But maybe this week, you might consider, if you have to, close your shades, heck, leave them open. Put the music on and allow your body to move and your mind to quiet. Center yourself down so that each limb becomes its own universe. And while we can't have our dances together at this point, we can still dance in our homes and find the joy that we might just need. Let us dance for hope. Let us dance for healing. But most of all, let us dance for the community to come. Esto, so be it.